In a remote location in South Africa, a strange old German woman is living with 500 baboons. Her name is Rita Miljo, and she has saved every one of them. To some, Rita is an irritant. Baboons in South Africa have been traditionally regarded as vermin, animals to be shot at rather than saved. In many South African eyes, Rita is a freak.
If it would have been a choice between my husband and the baboons, I would know what I've done.
Yet, elsewhere in the world, Rita has become revered.
Well, for me, I have to say, I think Rita should be the norm. That's how we should be regarding other creatures, and baboons, so similar to human beings. How can anybody kill, maim baboons?
We have all these different species in the world, and thank goodness there are people like Rita who are working for those that other people don't like.
I think some people have the gift of empathy, and they can understand what it feels like to be someone else. And if that someone else happens to be another species, they're either regarded as crazy or as a visionary. And I think Rita has an extraordinary ability to connect beyond what most of us can manage.
How and why this has come to be is a remarkable story. This is CARE, the Center for Animal Rehabilitation and Education. Based in Limpopo, in the far north of South Africa, it is unlike anywhere else in the world. It's a very odd place, run by an equally odd woman. A world where baboons run amok. And unusually for South Africa, these animals are very welcome here.
Hi, Rita. I've brought you another little chap. Oh, this is... Oh, no way.
Good introduction. Sorry. Have you got that?
Baboons always bring a smile to Rita's face. People often do not.
Let's go and see the other babies.
Okay, good.
The main influx we've got is by people shooting the mothers for fun. Let me try out my rifle. Oh, there's a baboon, let's shoot him.
You just throw food on the ground, the baboons come, and you set in your rifles like it.
And then the baby is hanging on it, and then the second step of our smart species is, oh, what a pity, a little baby. Let's save it. I've just only killed their mother, but so what, she was big. That is usually where our intake comes from, by shooting the mothers. And they still do it today. And they're still allowed to do it.
Helpless and left for dead, the orphan baboons that come here get round-the-clock care and attention from a mum, a human mum.
The role of a surrogate baboon mother is having them on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which basically means sleeping with them, changing their nappies, making their bottles, walking around with them all day long, cooking with them, doing everything with them. If they didn't have us as their surrogate moms, then unfortunately they probably wouldn't survive.
The bond is really important because they need a person, they need a mom, they need to know that they have that one person. For the bond to form, it really depends on the story about the baboon. For me, with Eli, it was pretty instantaneous. I mean, it happened the next day. He knew that I was his person. If I start walking away, he runs and he grabs onto my feet and he rides on my foot as I walk away. If there's a loud noise or put his fingers in my mouth, and that's how he's very tactile. He clings on very tightly when he's scared.
Baboons need a lot of love, and they give a lot of love back unconditionally. And when you look at their baboon life, the best time in their life is when they are little babies, mother cuddles, and auntie comes and says, may I touch your baby? That's the only time where they get uncountable love. And that's so important in their lives. A little baboon that doesn't get that love at that stage, I would think is mentally harmed forever, because that's what they need most. And then they go out of it and then they start giving love.
For over 30 years, Rita has pushed against a wall of opposition to baboons, gaining something of a reputation.
A lot of people said she's very rude and she's very straightforward, and she'll normally swear at the people when she doesn't get her way.
Rita is no shrinking violet, and her forthright opinions shock many.
I remember my very first TV interview. They asked me, why do you like baboons? And I said, with them, you always know where you stand. With people, you don't. And my God, did I get a backlash. What? You don't like people better than baboons? And I said, that's right.
And now, in her 80th year, it's a tough ask for Rita to keep crusading alone. Stephen Munro first met Rita in 2003. He came as a short-term volunteer and has stayed ever since.
We didn't hit it off straight away, but the first day that she actually was here, and I was down in the volunteers, she let Scruffy in, and Scruffy knocked over a tray of eggs, and she yelled at me and said I should never work with animals again. And yeah, that was my first interaction with Rita. But then I guess she saw how I was with the baboons and that there was a connection there, and she let me raise a baby, Blue, and I was apparently the first male that she allowed to be a surrogate mother or father.
Volunteers are drawn to care from around the world. With a conveyor belt of baboons coming in, they are a vital human resource for Rita. The volunteers come here to help baboons fight back.
Volunteers are really, really important because they turn up because they want to be there, they want to do something like that. They may not know exactly what they want to do when they arrive, but they do by the time they leave. They go away, whether they've volunteered for Rita's project or one of ours, and they're hooked for life.
So many people come to projects like Rita's, like ones that Born Free runs. They engage with the issues, they change their lives, and then they go back to their communities and they talk about those issues and they engage their own people in helping find the solutions to our problems.
Most people have a passion, but they're so scared of their own passion that they pretend they don't recognize it, and that's such a pity. But if you have a passion and you resist it, then it's your own stupidity.
Rita set up CARE in 1988. What started as a rescue center soon became a place where groundbreaking work has been developed. With no scientific training, Rita watched baboons on her terms. In time, she devised a method of forming new troops from rehabilitated individuals and returning them back to the wild, something that was thought impossible to do, and a remarkable achievement given the controversy that surrounds her work.
With a complicated species like a baboon, where they have such an organized society, taking odd individuals from different families and throwing them together and creating a social unit is not an easy task. And I think Rita's success in that is extraordinary, really.
Forming man-made baboon troops and returning them to the wild have never been done before, and is made all the more difficult when the law is against you.
We had official legislation that they called the vermin law, and you were officially required to kill them on sight. You broke the law if you left them alive. It's the most stupid law under the sun, that you were going to rectify God's creation. Nobody wanted to do anything about rubbish things like baboons, because God made them when he was drunk. And so, I think it just happened. Nobody even took in the vermin species like baboons, and I felt, but they're the ones that need the most help.
Once, after rescuing a baby baboon and driving it home, Rita was hauled up in court. She was charged with illegally keeping and transporting an animal without a permit. When asked by the prosecution why she wasted her time with problem animals like baboons, she replied, "Who are you to tell God that he should not have created baboons?" Her outspoken response was enough to get her acquitted. It's early morning at Care, and two little orphan baboons are at the start of their rehabilitation journey. Remy and Trumpy are just a few months old and spend every night sleeping in a cage beside Jen's bed. Baby baboons are totally dependent on their mother at this age, so Jen spends every day and night with them.
It's better to have two baboons at the same time because they feed off each other and need each other, and their bond grows much stronger as they get older. They will always have each other's back and protect each other no matter what. If they are low ranked, they know that they'll at least have each other. If they're high ranked, they'll have each other. So the bond that they share is very important, at least for the two of them.
At 7 and 5 months old, Remy and Trumpy need a lot of milk. Human formula is perfect, and they get this at least 4 times a day. Unrelated, they live together because they get on. Having a close ally at such a young age is good news for a rehabilitating baboon. They will spend the rest of the day socializing with other baboons, making friends and forming a hierarchy to become part of a troop. It's a kind of mix and match process Rita uses until she finds the right fit.
If you have a group of babies and there are two that really don't like each other, bitching, binding, performing, we have the luxury to say, okay, so you don't like each other, you go into that troop. Which in nature doesn't happen because they're born into the troop and they have to like each other. Now they come from every corner. I don't have it often, but it happens that say two of them really don't like each other. We have the luxury to say, okay, try that group.
Orphaned baboons have to bond with each other at a very young age. The older they get, the harder it becomes to break into an established gang. Without a role in a troop, no baboon is considered for release. Remy and Trumpy have 2 years to get it right. At just 10 weeks old, little Eli has more time on his side. His contact with other baboons is limited for now, so that he can strengthen his bond with Leanne first. This includes sleeping together at night.
People in the States think I'm out of my mind, but they also are, think it's really cool. They think it's, who wouldn't want to sleep with a baboon? I'm in Africa sleeping with baboons. That's so exciting.
While little Eli is the youngest baboon here, there is one that is so old that she wouldn't be alive in the wild. Tucked away in a dark corner, hunched in a cramped cage, is 31-year-old Bobby. Hidden from the outside world, she is Rita's property.
She's too much of an old lady.
Living like this appears to contradict Rita's help the baboon philosophy. But baboon troops are governed by a female hierarchy passed from one generation to the next. As an elderly female, Bobby just wouldn't survive. Instead, she lives side by side with Rita in a ramshackle house, for now. Work is well underway to build Rita and Bobby a new penthouse suite on top of the existing building. With downstairs squeezed by the demand for milk and medical space, a move upstairs can't come soon enough. Over time, Rita and Bobby have developed a strong bond.
She taught me all about baboons. She taught me how to fall in love with baboons. And ever since, it was my fight for Bobby extended to the other baboons. If I would have never found Bobby, I would have never found out how special baboons are. And so I fell in love with Bobby, and consequently I looked at other baboons and I thought they are amazing. I had no knowledge of baboons, and I don't think anybody else in the world had, because would you study rats? You wouldn't. You couldn't care less. And nobody was interested in what baboons do. And she totally amazed me by being such an intelligent creature.
Rita and Bobby's chance meeting over 30 years ago changed both their lives for good.
I was traveling a lot in those days, and I found Bobby in an army camp in Namibia. There was some war on, I don't know who was fighting who. Soldiers are rough. I'm not saying they're cool, but they're rough. She was just there entertaining me. And so confiscated her. Can you imagine one baboon in an army camp? What is Bobby doing in an army camp? I think she must have picked up that I was her lifeline. Well, whatever, she was perfect. She behaved perfectly. We went over the border. Bobby took a dive. I didn't. She instinctively knew. The policeman came and looked at the little thing that's on the windscreen. And Bobby from inside looked at him. He never said a word. He must have thought he's seen pink elephants. Didn't mention a baboon. If somebody would have stopped me because of her, I think we would have had a Third World War or something. I would not have given her up like that. But everything went smoothly because she was intelligent enough to dive. Totally illegally, I smuggled her into a country.
Such dogged determination to get her own way rubs people up the wrong way.
Obviously, there were so many people who hated what she did because she was perpetrating these vermin that they were trying to exterminate. So we have all these different species in the world, and thank goodness there are people like Rita who are working for those that other people don't like.
You look at people who've done similar things with other species and you see that common trait, that common gritty determination, sheer bloody mindedness that it takes. Some people call it madness, actually. They say you're mad to do this, but you have to be a little bit mad in order to go that far to make sure that an animal will make it once you release that animal back into the wild.
Rescuing Bobby was not the first time Rita's defied those who stood in her way. She has a history for doing so. Shortly after arriving in South Africa, she wanted to fly planes, but no man would teach her. So, Rita taught herself and performed loops and spirals over much of South Africa, flying planes and flying in the face of adversity. After a few years in Johannesburg, Rita and Bobby moved up here in 1988. What was Rita's weekend retreat now became her battleground. From farmer to policeman, Rita fought them all, taking in or liberating more and more baboons. It also became her learning ground. A troop of wild baboons, which Rita calls the Long Teats, strolled onto her land in 1992 and never left. By watching them, she learned how to put mix and match troops together. Now residing over baboon nirvana, Rita's reputation was defined. The strange, obstinate woman fighting the world for a nothing animal.
It was a big struggle at the time because everybody declared me mad. It's just as much as if she would want to decide, now you will look after rats.
Rita's passion was for baboons, and when she saw baboons in danger or being threatened, she would literally put herself in the way to try and prevent that suffering.
Rita's baboon home draws local resentment and fierce hostility from even her closest neighbors. Conflict is inevitable.
And when the neighbor, he used to come every weekend to shoot.
Bloody bastard!
And when things went too bad, I would take my shotgun out and I said, right. And shot at him. Luckily, I never got him. I'm a bad shot.
Taking to arms and preparing to fight is not unusual for Rita. It's in her DNA. Rita was born in Germany in 1931, growing up at a time when World War II was brewing. She joined the Hitler Youth at 8 years old, displaying the single-minded tenacity on show today by becoming the youngest Hitler Youth leader in her area. She saw Hitler at rallies, but was too young to fully understand the Nazi line. She simply went with the flow. Rita has said that she was too independent a thinker to be brainwashed by Hitler, but that the Nazis did teach her how to fight. After the war, she turned to her first love, animals. Denied the chance to become a vet, she worked at Hamburg Zoo before Africa came calling. Following husband-to-be Lothar Simon to these shores in 1953. Now in her early 20s, she settled in Johannesburg. The piece of wilderness that would one day become Care was bought 10 years later for holidays. Baboon troops are being built all around Care. Each enclosure houses baboons of various ages and at various stages. Rita's rules are, they have to be mentally fit and free from trauma, part of a fully functional group, and big, to stand up to the wild troops. By age 6 or 7, they can be returned to the bush.
The final step, the aim of a rehabilitation center is to take wild animals, rescue them, heal them, and put them back where they belong. So our release program was difficult because A, they are social animals. You can't just take one. You've got to form the unit that will stay together for life and do their thing. And that, for us, takes time.
Adult female B has been here almost all her life. She's now part of a fully rehabilitated troop waiting for release. She arrived at around 10 weeks old and went through a series of baboon gangs until she found her place. She slept with her human mum for 6 months and then an indoor cage alongside the same baboons she played with during the day. Eventually, they all lived as one big happy family. Now, B and her troop are ready to go back to the wild. Rita released her first baboon troop in 1994 and has gone on to release 9 more. Stephen camps out with a newly released troop for up to 6 months while they settle in. After that, they're on their own.
Of course, you look at the survival rate in a year. The best rate we ever had was 70%. I discussed it with a very well-known primatologist, and he said to me, that's a fantastic figure.
One release in 2002 was given the ultimate seal of approval when Nelson Mandela came to witness Rita's baboons walk to freedom. Little Eli is a long way from his walk to freedom.
It's pretty shivery.
He undergoes a daily scrub to stay disease-free. A baboon shampoo and set is a small price to pay. His breakfast is a messy affair. Then it's off to baboon school for the first time. This is a big step for Eli. Lesson number 1. Climbing skills. Orphans Remy and Trumpy are here too, but today is not going well. Remy is testing boundaries, but not the social kind. And Trumpy is struggling to fit in. All 3 little baboons have a lot to learn if they're going to make it back to the wild. On the other side of K, an adult baboon is down. It's B. She's waiting to be released with the rest of her troop, but today she has a serious problem. B is rushed to the clinic where Stephen wastes no time in assessing her condition. Her rigid arms and legs make the diagnosis easy. Tetanus. This is a life-threatening bacterial infection. It's vital Stephen gets the medication into B's system as quickly as possible. An anxious Rita arrives.
Why do you limit yourself in space and putting all this on the treatment table? That's silly. We have it under control with the little ones. We give them an anti-tetanus injection as they come in. But that only protects them for 2-3 years. Once they are in the troop, it's very, very difficult to go in and re-inject them with tetanus.
The medication takes time to work. B could show signs of improvement in a few hours or a few days, but she also might not.
I mean, it's probably one of the hardest things to treat is tetanus because you really, even though you know what you're fighting, you don't know if what you're doing actually is going to work because we only have a 40% survival rate.
Tetanus is so unpredictable. I mean, this one looks okay to me right now. If she's dead tomorrow, I can't tell you why.
With B fighting for her life, Remy and Trumpy begin the next stage of theirs, sleeping away from Jen for the first time. Spending the night with the same baboons they spent the day with encourages them to become reliant on each other. It's a form of tough love. Remy and Trumpy still need their human mum throughout the day, and this morning they are making the most of some Jen time. Just as well, this is the last time they will see her.
Where's your sister? Remington!
Jen is heading back to America and shares her last precious moments with Remy and Trumpy. Saying goodbye is hard.
It is a very long way to come for the baboons, but once they take a piece of your heart, they are with you forever and ever and ever, and it's just a perfect feeling that you have with them.
Other volunteers will now guide the rest of Remy and Trumpy's rehabilitation.
You can't help but fall in love with them, whether you try or not. They just capture you somehow. You know, there are certain people that I think found their direction here and their encouragement. You have a passion, stick to it.
It would make my life to know that I raised a baboon, that he made it through, and you know, it'd be sad to see him go knowing that I'd never see him again, but that's the ultimate goal, and that's what we're here for. That'd be the best thing for him, and that would make me really happy.
Eli is doing well. His climbing has come on in leaps and bounds, and this is giving him quite an appetite. He's relied solely on milk for weeks. Now he watches Leanne prepare something new. Solid food. In the wild, Chacma baboons eat a variety of foods, from fruit and leaves to insects and even meat when they can catch it. Over in the clinic, B is still in a critical condition. Drips have been changed and antibiotics administered around the clock. Rita has remained constantly at B's bedside. All of a sudden, there is a dramatic turn of events.
That is not a good sign, what she's doing now. Can you see she's starting to labor breathing? It's not good. I think we've lost her. She's gone. Where do you keep the stethoscope?
Did something happen? Or?
No, nothing. She just shut down. Where is your stethoscope? Then you can tell whether she's dead or alive. I think it's over.
She just started convulsing.
No, she was breathing heavily. So do you pick up a heartbeat or not?
I did, now I don't. She gave one last.
Losing an animal is never easy. But it's a harsh reality for all wildlife rehabilitation projects. B had grown up here and after 10 years was waiting for her ticket back to the wild.
Bloody tetanus that people know for 100 years. Hey? It's not a new disease or anything, it's bloody tetanus. We're telling ourselves we are the greatest species on this earth. And we cannot stop this, we cannot. I'm angry because I've done what I could. I got the medicine in the fridge, it was available. She came in time. So I'm obviously looking at something that I want to blame, and I blame scientists. You know, they give you medicine, there's in the fridge and it doesn't. I might as well not have had it. It's not. It's the sadness. I cry my heart out and then I'm saying to myself, but you asked for it. I could have distanced myself from the whole thing and had nothing to do with it. Wouldn't have had any joy in my life, but also no sadness. They're my children. So that emotion hits me anyway. If you've got 500 children, this happens to you a bit more often than if you only have 2 children. I've only had 1 daughter in my life. She also tragically died. So I can tell you that's the same feeling I've got for the baboons.
In 1972, Rita's daughter Karen boarded a small plane with her father. He had learned to fly, like Rita had, and often took to the sky with their daughter for fun. Only this time, they didn't return. The plane crashed, killing them both. Rita remains haunted by the tragedy. She felt responsible for their deaths because it was she who encouraged her husband to fly.
Hey, Bobby.
Losing bees so close to release draws Rita to Bobby.
You are such a clever girl. It's not true.
The building work is finally complete upstairs, and Rita and Bobby are getting ready to move. The spacious new rooftop flat will allow them both to watch the long-teeth troop, giving Bobby a new lease of life in her twilight years.
What we guys are doing is putting Bobby, it sounds very bad, putting her onto her last journey from one bed enclosure to a better one. And that's where she's going to die. This is not a very nice place to be for the rest of your life. You know, it was an interim thing to protect her.
Getting Bobby there, however, is another matter. They can't just carry her. She is still a dangerous animal.
I think she knows what we're up to. She'll probably give us a run around. We try and coax her into this cage gently because she's too much of an old lady.
They have to take Bobby up in a transporting cage, but this is not as simple as it sounds.
Bobby. Bobby.
Getting a fully grown baboon of limited mobility and a stubborn streak to hobble in is tricky.
Bobby, come. Look here, what we've got, all of us. We're all on the floor. Come on, come on. Look, Bobby. Ooh. Oh, that was a good shot, Stephen. I've done it. Give him 5 minutes. Come, Bobby. Bobby. Oh yeah, now you go and help Steve.
I love you, Bobby.
Oh, we outsmarted you, Bobby. What do you think of that? Disgusting, I would say so too.
Okay, I need all the guys to come down to help to take Bobby upstairs.
Female baboons are usually half the size of males and weigh up to 17 kilograms in the wild. But Bobby is bigger. 30 years of fine dining, plus a hefty transport cage, requires muscle to get the portly primate upstairs. And finally bring Bobby to her new home. The wild long-teed troop are all over the mesh-enclosed outdoor space, like kids in a playground.
Bobby, look at all the visitors you're going to have. You probably will say that's enough, huh? Oh, isn't that good? I wanted her actually to have the most natural surrounding. She's so much closer to nature than we humans are, so how happy will she be to have all that? Isn't that wonderful?
After more than 30 years together,
Bobby? Hmm?
Rita and Bobby are still wrapped up in their own world.
What do you say, Bobby? Isn't that wonderful? Oh, this is so wonderful. Look at the interaction. They're lip-smacking each other. Now, isn't that wonderful?
Lip-smacking is one of many forms of baboon communication, used as a simple greeting or sign of contentment. It appears Bobby is just as happy as Rita with the move.
I'm absolutely happy, because it's the best I can give her. To have all the entertainment of the wild baboons. I mean, look, I'm also happy to be able to sit here and sleep here and look at this instead of sitting in an old age home. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, it's such a special thing for me and for her that makes me totally happy.
An up and down day at Care is drawn to a close by the African sky. As is the next, and the next one after that. The weeks continue to roll by as the changing seasons roll in. Over the course of 12 months, the welcome rains come and go, breathing new life into the African bush. The sun returns quickly to push 1 year into the next. The seasons may come and go, but Stephen does not. His routine remains the same. But tonight, just over a year after Rita and Bobby moved upstairs, everything is about to change.
We were having a really nice evening up at the mountain lodge. A couple of the volunteers had bought some special food. There was a really nice dinner that they were cooking. A couple of people went up on the balcony and said that they saw fire. It was Rita's house. Just immediately grabbed the fire extinguisher from up here and ran. See that upstairs where Rita was it was gone, and there wasn't much we could do up there, and Rita didn't appear, and yeah, we rescued what we could. And once the fire was pretty much out, they searched the area where they believed Rita was, and one of the things which was stuck in my mind was that there was a little rat that was underneath her body, and it was still alive, and it was like she saved the rat. Yeah, sorry.
Rita Miljo died on the 27th of July, 2012. She was 81. Her remarkable baboon story ended exactly as it began, side by side with her beloved baboon, Bobby. The downstairs clinic at Care, the quarantine area and nursery night quarters were all destroyed, and some baboons sustained horrific burns as their cages melted. The charred remains of Rita's house now stand ghost-like as baboons go about their daily business. Rita is laid to rest in a humble grave next to those of her favorite baboons. She and baboon Bobby share the same coffin. To this day, The cause of the fire in which they died remains a mystery.
Rita clearly hadn't finished her work. It's a tragedy that she died in that way, in very much the same way that Diane Fossey hadn't finished her work. But in one sense, Diane's death focused more attention on her work and inspired many other people to continue it. So maybe that's what will happen with Rita, and perhaps eventually we will have a general perception of baboons that is positive.
People like Rita are desperately important because, you know, as humans invade more and more of the space of wildlife, then you get more and more orphans, you get more and more displaced individuals, and you desperately need people to take care of them and look after them.
Her legacy is that amazing sanctuary and the lives that she has saved, the lives that she has improved. She didn't just rescue them, she returned baboons to the wild. And people said it couldn't be done, that it was madness, that they were mad to do it, and yet they succeeded.
Rita's work has to go on, and the baboons need a new fighter for their cause. She only ever trusted one person to take over from her. Stephen is more than capable. With Rita's death on his mind, Stephen comes to a happy place to think and check up on the last of Rita's troops that he released back to the wild.
Yeah, just want to see them and make sure everyone's okay. So.
The location is kept secret for the baboon's safety. Now free from human reliance, the troop stays away. In this vast wild area of bush, they could be anywhere. But the signs are good. They have definitely been this way. There are baboons in the area, but Stephen needs to identify them to know for sure that they are care baboons.
I can hear them. Yeah, that was Bess. That was Devereaux. That's Chuck. We already had Sally and Ezra. Yeah, I always think of Rita. Rita would be happy. She must be looking down and seeing her baboons that she raised and the rehab method that she put together and release method and seeing that it works. And that's what keeps me going. I can go back to the center happy and know that keep doing this, get them ready for the bush, find release sites, because it works. It's all worth it.
I think those who are considering reintroducing rare species closely related to baboons into the wild could learn a lot from the experience that Rita Miljo and her co-workers have in building social groups and finding suitable habitats, and the political side of discussing with the authorities and the farmers that this is important and worthwhile. Then people will turn to the experience of Rita's project for how to do it.
Something else that is quite remarkable has also happened. From the moment care was established, such is the vilification of baboons that no South African volunteer has ever set foot here. Until now. Deborah grew up in a local community. She's fully aware of the hostility many people have towards baboons.
I used to be scared of them because I used to see them from a distance. So I was like, I wasn't sure if maybe they were going to grab me, attack me. But as time goes on, as I was here, I started to love them, even to be close to them, to touch them, groom them. So it was wonderful. There are those who don't understand exactly what I'm doing. They're like, why are you working with baboons? I mean, they're alpha, they're aggressive. But then this is something that I really hope to change, because we really need to conserve them, to preserve them, and to encourage people to learn, to visit these places, to know what is really happening here. I think that would be wonderful.
The role that baboons play in the natural habitat, they're not just ornaments, they're part of the ecology of the habitat in which they evolved and which evolved around them. So if you lose the baboon from that habitat, then all the ecological jobs that baboons do don't get done.
You know, we've got to protect environment so that these animals can then have a chance of being released back into the wild.
Like many people who have died, who you wish you'd said things to, yes, you'd like to just express your appreciation for what they've done and admiration for their determination and strength of character and all those things that make someone like Rita special.
No, there'll never be another Rita Miljo. No, she was unique. Everything put together was unique and perfect for the baboons and for starting this and for care and for baboons. It took someone unique like Rita to start it off and get it going, and now we just have to keep it going.
The main purpose in my life, to show people that baboons can be beautiful. I think I had a hand in that, and if I only lived for that, I think I had a good life.